Gonna go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming to this Q&A with the candidates for high school board, District 219, which represents Skokie, Morton Grove, and Lincolnwood. And I think part of Niles, is that correct? Somebody wants to correct me?
Yes.
And golf.
And a little bit of golf, okay. There was 4 candidates running for this position. 3 of them agreed to participate tonight. 1 has declined. So we have with us tonight Lindley Wisnewski, Kandice Cooley-Jones, Lindley, I'm sorry. Did I say
That's
Lindsay?
okay. Yeah.
Lindley Wisnewski, Kandice Cooley-Jones, and Dr. Nour Akhras. So thank you for agreeing to do this. We're excited to hear from you. So each candidate will have 3 minutes in the beginning to introduce themselves, let us know who they are, and then 2 minutes for each question after that. Closing, depending on how much time we have, 2 to 3 minutes. Scott is with us tonight. Scott Holgren is part of Indivisible, and he will be keeping time. He will hold up 30 seconds when you have 30 seconds left and time when it's over. Please try to finish off your sentence. So and when the time is up. And let's see, Judy Aronson is with us as well. She's my co-host, and she will be asking questions. The questions, I'll ask a couple questions in the beginning, and the rest of the questions will be in the chat. If you've seen these Q&As, they're all the same. So if you have questions, everyone who is watching, please put the questions in the chat. And before that, to make it easier on Judy, if you could put Q or question before the question, so she knows to skip over comments and she can go straight to the questions. If you are on a cell phone and your name is not present, please identify who you are and where you're from. I think I got everything. Did I miss anything?
You know, we just do a test. Could everybody see that and read that?
I can.
Okay, good enough.
We just had a really good general question that came up, and that is, how many spots are there and how many people are running? And it was just answered in the chat, but I think we should say it out loud. There are 4 people running, and there are 3 spots available on the board for this year.
Yes, and all 4 were invited, as I said earlier. I lost you guys. I don't know why. Okay. I was looking at the chat. I can't see your faces. Oh, you're in the corner. Okay. All right. So please be respectful and polite in your questions. And again, Judy will ask the questions and identify who you are when she does that. As a first question, well, actually, I'm sorry. Let's do the introductions first. Who would like to go first?
These are 3 minutes, correct?
Yes.
I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead, Kandice.
So my name is Kandice Cooley-Jones. I went to Niles West, grew up in Skokie. I have 2 children, one that is a freshman at Niles West, and I have a first grader at Madison, which is District 69. I'm currently on the District 69 school board. I'm the vice president. Myself and Lindley are both on that school board together. And so I've had a great experience on that school board, learned a lot. We worked very well together, very collaborative. And there's a lot that I learned that I want to bring into 219 and just mainly the community schools model that we have, which is basically a way to bridge the gap between the school and the needs of the community, engaging them and just offering services and things that the community is needing help with or just guidance with. So that's really important to me. My day job is a price analyst. I'm a senior price analyst for a company called Xylem, which is actually around the corner from Niles West on Austin. It's a manufacturing company. So I look at numbers all day, analyzing everything that has to do with pricing and just money. So I'm really good at that. And I'm just looking forward to hopefully working together and collaborating and making sure that we can really listen to the community's voices and just really kind of give the community what it is that they need and they're asking for, as well as, you know, listening to your staff, listening to your students. I think those are the three most important things is when you're on a school board, to listen to what the needs of the staff, the students, and the community are, and then find ways to fulfill that. So that's kind of my primary goal for running for 219.
Thank you. Dr. Nour?
Yeah, if we could hold on just a brief second, please. And I need to set something up here. Be a little easier for me. Okay, we're good.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nour Akhras. I'm a pediatric hospitalist and pediatric infectious disease physician. And I've been working in the community for the last 20 years in that role. I have lived in Morton Grove for the last 10 years. I have 4 kids. The eldest is a sophomore in the district, and then his sister will be joining in the fall. And then I have 2 younger children. Before running for District 219, I actually didn't know a lot about the district, but over the last 6 months, I've learned a lot. I've attended a lot of the board meetings, first virtually, and after I put in my petition papers, I've been attending in person, and I've really learned a lot about.
Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. There's been a request for you to speak up a little bit.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I wonder if my AirPods are working. 1 second.
For the record, I stopped the timer.
Oh, you're on mute.
Okay. Okay.
There you go.
Is this
A
better?
lot better. Yes.
Okay. All right. So sorry. So should I start over, or do you want me to just continue?
You can start over because it was hard to hear you.
Okay, let me
Okay.
hold on a second, please. I'll clear that one time out.
I was at the League of Women Voters last night, and wow, they're incredibly professional in their questions. And there was no Q&A, but I was very impressed with them. We're a lot more relaxed here, obviously, and non-professionals, but we're trying our best.
Okay, we're good.
Okay. Hi again, everybody. Sorry for that technical problem. My name is Nour Akhras. I'm a pediatric hospitalist and pediatric infectious diseases physician. And I've been working in that profession for the last 20 years. I'm a longtime resident of Morton Grove. I've been here for about 10 years with my family. We have 4 kids. The eldest is a sophomore in the district, and then I have an incoming freshman, and then I have 2 younger kids. And I didn't know a lot about the school board prior to running, but I've learned a lot in the last 6 months. I've attended all the board meetings virtually before I submitted my papers, and then in person after my papers were submitted. And I think for me, I've been focused on the lives of children for the last 20 years and really improving their lives, not just from a scientific perspective and their health from the physical perspective, but seeing the child as a holistic human being. And so that's really important to me in my bid for District 219, because I think being focused on students is really where I thrive as a human being. In my previous life, I used to be on medical NGO boards. I've been on 2, and I've gone on medical missions. And being on the NGO boards, I've learned a lot about finance and keeping close to the budget. And we've actually, as the medical NGOs that I've been on, which are Med Global and Syrian American Medical Society, we have earned Charity Navigator's top commendations for being efficient and for the use of funds getting to where they need to be, and for transparency. And I hope to bring that skill set also to the board. And I'm also very data driven because of my profession. And so I hope to also bring the ability to use data and to read data and vote on data to my position on the school board.
And last but not least, Lindley. Thank you, Nour.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Lindley Wisnewski, and I have been a Morton Grove resident for about 16 years. My husband and I own two franchises of My Gym Children's Fitness Center, and one is in Skokie and one is in River Forest, Illinois. We have two kids. One is a freshman at Niles West, and the other is a 7th grader in District 69 at Lincoln Junior High. So we've been in the community for a very long time. Basically what I bring is passion for the lives of children, cognitive development, social emotional development, and physical development. That's what I've sort of been doing my entire professional life, is teaching kids and helping them in all of those areas. And then recently, in the last 3 years, I actually went back to school and got my master's in nursing. And now I am an oncology nurse at Lutheran General Hospital. And my goal is to move into pediatric oncology nursing as well. And an even a bigger goal of mine is to work with LGBTQ kids at like Lurie's Gender Development Program and as a pediatric nurse there as well. So those are sort of my future career goals. But as far as being on the board, I've been on the District 69 board, as Kandice said, for the last 4 years. And I have really, really enjoyed learning as much as I have about school boards. I'm no stranger to boards. I've been on many boards. I've served on the My Gym Franchisee Advisory Board. I've served on the Evanston Youth Hockey Association Board. I've served on the Ethiopian American Kids Community Board, all for over 2 years for each of those. So, but District 69 has brought me a lot of knowledge about being on a school board. Being on a board to me means that, you know, we are overseeing and making sure that our superintendent is keeping the kids' best interests at heart and the entire community is being listened to. I feel like at 69, we've had real success with that, and I'd love to continue that in 219. I think that 219 is fortunate that in the last couple of years they've gotten Tom Moore is the superintendent now, and I think that he's doing a great job, and I'd love to continue with that relationship and be a part of it and continue to like work with the community and really work with the communication that's happening with everyone so that we can move forward and just help the kids have a good experience at school, which they deserve. So.
Thanks. So I thought I met all you guys the other day at Morton Grove Women Who Drink Tea. And I walked up to you, Lindley, and I said to you, I thought I knew you from somewhere. Have you figured out? It dawned on me when I was entering your number into my phone today where I know you from.
Where?
Anatomy and Physiology at Oakton.
Oh my God. That is too good. Oh my God. Yes. So I took my prerequisite at Oakton. Oh my God. That's too good. I love it. Well, hi.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
That is
Okay.
hilarious.
So we'll start off with a pretty provocative question, but you know, the times that we're living in, right? So my first question to all of you is, you know, you know what's happening with the government right now, the federal government, and in light of the immigration status, there's people kids at D219 who are undocumented, and in light of the stigma that is going on and how unsafe they might feel in their homes and at school, and the fact that ICE might be coming in, what would each of you do to make them feel safe? And if ICE does approach, what are your thoughts on that and what could be done? Let's start with, do you want to start, Lindley?
These are 2 minutes, correct?
Yes.
All right.
Sure. Well, one thing I know is that we as a school, the administrators at school do not have to give any information out about these kids. We legally do not have to say this person's undocumented, this person's that. So, you know, I've truly believe that we should be a safe haven for these kids and let them know that. I know that could be a little bit controversial in that, like, oh, if we call attention to that, that's not a good thing, but I think we should say to these families, I think we should be saying to all the community, we are a safe haven for your kids. We're not going to be putting anybody in front of ICE or anything like that. You know, because again, legally, we don't have to bring anybody forward. Legally, unfortunately, we have to let them in the building, but we don't have to give them any information, and we can keep those kids safe and not let them off the premises. And we as administrators can say, we're going to be with you the whole entire time. We're not going to let them just like raid our schools. So, I think communicating with our community and letting them know that is an important thing to do. But that said, I'd like to listen to what everyone else thinks about letting a community know, because I don't want to put our students in the limelight when we don't need to be, because we do have a lot of diversity in our community and a lot of probably, undocumented families that we don't want to highlight. But, I want to do what's best for them, which is let them know that we will not be doing anything that will jeopardize them.
Candice, would you like to answer next?
Sure. I definitely think number one is communication, like making sure we're communicating to all of our staff, students, families, like resources, ways that they can reach out, in case they need help, or how they can, understand what's going on and ways that they can get help. And then just knowing that the school is there to support them in any way that we can. And then, to piggyback off of Lindley, of course, we're not going to give out private information, as we shouldn't. We also, if ICE does come and as long as they don't have a warrant, we do not have to, bring the kids out to them or open the schools to them. We're going to try to follow as many of the laws within the laws to protect the children as we can, and give out as many resources as we can. Depending on what everyone would recommend as far as being a safe haven for students, that's something that I think, we should look into. And just making sure that everybody has those resources. There's a lot of resources out there, as far as just immigration law, and just as far as the state, that, I feel like we should definitely understand and also share with the families as much as we can, and as things constantly change, because with the administration, we know that everything is changing weekly, daily. So trying to just keep up with that and make sure that the staff is trained and understand, what they can and can't do and what's allowed and how to protect the students as well. So that would be my best. Yes.
Thank you. Nour?
Echoing what Lindley and Candice said, I think it is important that the students understand that they are safe in the school, and that communicating that to the parents. I want to echo what Superintendent Moore said at the last board meeting, that he said he would personally come and meet ICE at the door if that happened, and that he has made it very clear to all the teachers, staff, administrators, what the role of the school is in protecting the children, and that just like healthcare facilities, that this is what we're getting from our administration, that we don't have to let anybody in unless there's a warrant. And I think we should recognize like how lucky we are in Illinois to have leadership from the governor in terms of these practices. And just again, sharing resources which would help undocumented families or students, and just making sure that they know that they're safe. And I think that's really the most important piece of the whole thing, is that the students feel safe.
Thank you. Okay, my next question is also, it's kind of sensitive as well, but these are the times we're living in, so I think it's important to ask these questions. But with respect to diversity, equity, and inclusion, how will you commit to to having those initiatives, DIE initiatives, or DEI rather, initiatives, and it's a two-part question. The second one would be how, with the staff, we have a huge diversity in our schools, and we don't seem to have the staff that reflects the same diversity. How would you encourage that to happen, to have more diverse staff? Can we start with Kandice this time?
That's a struggle. I feel like we've had a struggle with that in District 69 as well, like trying to get a more diverse staff. And I think it's twofold. I definitely support DEI. I think it's important, especially for this community who has such a diverse group of students and families, that you would definitely want to encourage your staff to look like them, to understand them, speak different languages, whatever the case. So I definitely support that heavily. And I also think it's twofold, because I think it also goes with the culture inside the school. You can't retain, for instance, you can't necessarily retain maybe Black teachers if they're feeling uncomfortable in the environment that they're working in. So I think it's twofold, and you have to figure out how to recruit, but you also have to figure out how to maintain and create a culture that these people want to come and work there. Because I know a lot of people of color who's in education in all different realms, from principals to counselors to teachers, and a lot of them say they would not work in 219. So we need to figure out why. So that's something inside with how the culture is for staff that is not warranting the retention of these people, especially people that are from the community. You really want those people to come back and work in your school. So that is something that we would need to investigate and deal with and try to, change.
Nour?
So the question of why the staff doesn't reflect the diversity of the students is actually one of the first questions I asked Superintendent Moore when I met him before I decided to run for the district. And, I think it's not even the elephant in the room. I think it's well known that in District 219 that we have a very diverse student body, but the staff isn't reflected. And when he said that we do hire diverse teachers, I said, okay, but where are they? Like, why? Again, the question is like the retention. We have a very lucrative, the budget is very well funded in District 219. The teachers are they're paid well with respect to other teachers in Illinois and in the country. So the question is like, why aren't more teachers of diverse backgrounds coming or staying? So I still don't have a good answer of why, but I think that I think it's really important, and especially if we look at the learning gap, or why there's such a big learning gap compared to how much money we have and are spending on our students. I think it's if the diversity of the students was reflected in the staff, that the learning gap would shrink more. And I think that's an important thing to talk about. But for the first part of the question, do I support DEI initiatives? 100%. And I know this is not a buzzword. This buzzword has kind of fallen out of fashion in the last, I don't know, couple of months, I guess you could say. But I'm not going to shy away from it, and I'm going to, be 100% transparent about that I support these initiatives.
Thank you. Interesting that women are probably the biggest targets of diversity, equity, and inclusion. That being said, so Lindley?
Yeah, so honestly, I reiterate what what Nour and Kandice have also said for sure as well. I 100% support DEI initiatives. This is very, very close to my heart. Both of my children are in marginalized communities, and it is very important to me that they see, and other kids at the school see staff that represents them. The representation is so important. I have seen it happen with my kids. So yeah, so I fully support the DEI initiative. As far as diverse teachers in our schools, like Candace said, we have to sustain an environment that they want to stay in. So we're all about welcoming in 219. It's like, okay, come we're so open, right? We're like, everyone is welcome here. And then little by little, they start to go. So something is going on in the halls, right? And like Nour, I don't have the answer to that, but I want to get into that. And I think that the way we get into that is professional development. So when we get these people in the door, and we can get them through a lot of different ways, word of mouth, we can, and grow your own, we can hire people and help them to, succeed and get further up in their careers, and we can help them. But we need to figure out what's going on inside. And I think that professional development is a huge, huge way we can do that. We can get our teachers, our administrative staffs together. They can be educated in ways to be team and work together. And I think that's a real way that we can help keep them in our district. But it is very important that these teachers and administrators look like our kids.
Thank you. I'm gonna switch gears a little bit here and get into like more of the curriculum type stuff. Now Township High School, District 219 has entered into a joint initiative with some of the districts, some of the elementary schools, to ensure that all students from kindergarten through high school benefit from a guaranteed and viable common curriculum and assessment program that properly prepares them for high school. Why do you suppose that that all the districts are involved, and how would you encourage membership? I think we should start with Nour this time.
Why they're not more involved and how we can get them more involved, I think maybe is a marketing issue. I don't know if all of the parents in the district understand why this is so important to make sure that the students coming from the feeder schools start off at a level where they're, in congruence with the other students in terms of the subjects. And I think if parents understood more that that if your student is trying to catch up their first or second year of high school, they're not going to have time or energy or like even wanting to participate in extracurricular activities, which doesn't allow them to experience high school in the fullest way that they can. So I think marketing and reaching out to parents and maybe having parents have a bigger say, whether they're, they will align with this curriculum.
Lindley?
Yeah, so District 69 is a part of Collaborative for Curriculum, the CFC program, and I think that it has been so beneficial for us to get us streamlined and get these kids like on the same path to high school and then be ready for the curriculum there. And it's really been so great for us. We have only seen improvements in everything with our kids. All of our numbers have gone up. And I love CFC and that was a subcommittee that I have sat on for the last 4 years with District 69. So as far as getting, what's that? Oh, did someone say something? Sorry. I thought someone said something. But as far as getting more schools involved, I agree with Nour. It is a little bit about marketing for sure. I also think that we can't all of a sudden get a ton of people involved at the same time. I think it does need to be strategic for CFC to continue to work, or else it'll just be it'll be too much work for them to get if we get 3 or 4 more schools at the same time, I think it might get kind of tricky. But I do just think it's about talking about this program to the right people. I'm not sure the right people have been spoken to about how this really helps our kids. So we need to get into the bottom of that and really just figure out how we can talk to the right people about why CFC is so important for these kids.
Thanks. And last but not least, Candice.
So I'm still currently on the CFC subcommittee. And that's something that we preach about on a regular basis. Like, are you marketing this to the other schools? How are you marketing it? How are you talking about it? Are you sharing the data? We have tons of data at this point showing from kids that were in kindergarten all the way through to now they would be in college, showing the data of like how their math has grown, how they transition into science, et cetera, how we've changed the curriculum so that it aligns together and showing how the growth has improved since we've been in it. So I really think that sharing the data is one way to help people understand what it's really about. And I think also marketing it in a way that it's beneficial for the schools. I think every school has their own need. And so that's being equitable by figuring out what that school needs help with. They might not need help with the math, but maybe they need help with the science curriculum, or they need to, align their their reading or their English curriculum. So I think it's really sitting back, talking to the schools, their superintendents, their principals, their staff, and finding out, okay, what's going on with your curriculum and what is it that you need that we can help you streamline so your kids can be more successful as they enter 219. So I think that they're getting better, but I think they really need a big push to do that. So hopefully, if I decide to, if I'm on 219 and I decide to be on that subcommittee as well, we can push that forward too, because I really think that all 9 schools should be in it in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Thanks. We're gonna switch over to the chat now, and Judy will take over.
Hopefully you
Okay,
can't hear my kids screaming.
I can't hear
Perfect.
Give
him.
them a bone. I give my dogs bones.
Okay, we're
Alright.
gonna need more questions in the chat, but we're gonna start with a question that I had, and I know we're going out of order here, but Lindley, this comes out of something that you said, and that was where my question came from. You had said something about how we have to let ICE into the buildings, and I wanted to know why we have to let ICE into the buildings when Chicago schools don't.
I just meant we're going to follow the law and what we were supposed to do. I do certainly don't mean we're going to just let them in and do whatever they want in any way, shape, or form. So I just meant we would follow what we needed to be in compliance. But we're not letting anyone know who these kids are, and we would never let any of their information out. So no, and hey, listen, I'd love to just stop them, but I just was saying that we would try to do what we could to be in compliance with the law as far as that went.
Okay, because when the Secret Service came to that school that one day, back when he was first inaugurated, they didn't let him in because they thought they were ICE, and we don't have to let ICE into the buildings.
Great, then we should not. But I just meant we should just
Okay,
do
good.
legally what
Then we're all,
Yeah.
because that was kind of what the other 2 women said. So we're all good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Then we're gonna go to the other questions. Awesome. Are the other 2 of you okay with where we're at, Candice? Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, I'm great.
Nour, does that sound good to you? Awesome. Okay, Candice, you're up first on this one.
All right.
Do you agree with the recent elimination of the equity staff position at District 219? Why or why not?
Okay, so this is like a twofold question. Personally, I don't agree, because I feel like that position was held by the person for a long duration, and I feel like they ended up eliminating that position and then hiring someone new, when I feel like if they were going to eliminate that position, they could have put her into that new position. So that's my personal take on it. I do understand from just conversations that I've had with other current board members that they're trying to create, like, they're trying to align it from the top down. and the way that they're positioning the new positions are still supposed to be, an equitable position or, DEI type situation, but they're trying to align it more. I guess they're trying to make it across the board. I'm not really sure, but I didn't agree with it because I feel like you always want to promote within, or, if there's pivots or changes, even if it's lateral, and she said no, versus you removing someone and eliminating it and then bringing someone new in. That to me doesn't make sense, especially since she's been there since the beginning. So no, I don't agree with it.
Okay, thank you. I think that means that Nour is next.
Okay, so I was there at the meeting when Superintendent Moore proposed the whole restructuring of the administration. And I also, as I had mentioned, I had talked to him back in, I think, like October or September when I first was thinking about running. And back then he had said that his goal was that every student in the schools should have an administrator who knows their name, so knows them on a personal level, which I 100% agree with. Like, it should be more than one, but if there's at least one that's in the student's corner, I think that's excellent. I think it came off maybe a little tone deaf that it came out like just last month that he made this proposition. And I don't agree with eliminating the chief equity officer position. Because I think that his take on it was that with every class, incoming class, like the freshman class, sophomore class, there would be administrator who knows that whole class, and then equity would be that administrator's responsibility for that class. So it just seems like then, one person, like nobody's really responsible for it, but everybody's responsible for it at the same time. And then when you do something like that, then I think that's when balls get dropped. And so in a nutshell, I don't agree, but I don't think that he meant, like, he had this restructuring, in his mind way back before. And I think I really like him. I think he's a good administrator. But I don't agree with his position on eliminating the chief equity officer.
Okay, Lindley. Thank you, Nour. Lindley.
Yes. So no, I do not agree with it either. I do not agree with getting rid of this. In fact, it just like kind of crushed my heart when I heard that this position was eliminated. Even though I have also heard of what Nour said, to reiterate, like, I know that there's like an idea behind this. And from what I hear of it, it comes from a good place, right? The same thing, like everybody is going to like have someone that is like kind of there for them, but we need that person to be in charge of this. We need the chief, diversity and equity officer. We need this person to be the overseer, not just putting this in the hands of people that's not their forte. I was crushed by this, even though I also do think, I do think that he is a wonderful administrator as well, but I would have pushed back on that a lot. I would have asked a lot of questions and also tried to listen to what the community was saying to also be a part of that discussion. So no, I did not agree with it in any way.
Okay, thank you, Lindley. Next question. And Nour, you're going to be the first one up on this one, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What is the primary role and responsibility of the school board, and how should it interact with administrators?
So the primary role of the school board is to supervise the superintendent as he or she, or in this case he, tries to get the vision of the district, move it forward. And so our role as a board is to oversee that process and make sure that there's a checks and balances in place in case that's not happening. And we would listen to administrators and take into account what they're saying, but our role primarily has to do with supervising the superintendent.
Okay, thank you. Lindley.
Yes, so our role as the school board is to oversee. And so we are to hire the superintendent. And in this case, of course, we already have one, but that is our job, is to keep the superintendent, accountable, to hold them accountable, to set up strategic goals that the district, has for the next 5-10 years, and then go over those and make sure that that superintendent is continually keeping those goals at the forefront of their leadership. And yeah, I mean, if a school board and district and a superintendent are working like a well-oiled machine, the school board only talks to the superintendent, and the superintendent is like, they talk to the principals and the assistant principals and all that. So we're not really directly, communicating with the administrators. That's what happens in a really, well-oiled machine board and superintendent relationship. So, and that's kind of what I've been lucky enough to be a part of with District 69. And I'd love to see that come to fruition for 219 as well. But we are definitely overseeing our superintendent and making sure that the goals of the district and the well-being of the students is at the forefront.
Okay, thank you. Candice.
Yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much what what they said is pretty much what you do as a board member. Your one employee is your superintendent. You employ him or her, and they are supposed to do the day-to-day operations and running of the school. You're supposed to make sure you trust that person, because essentially you're going to get majority of your feedback from this superintendent. Also, as being on the school board, you're also, your other job is creating that strategic plan, goals of checks and balances, and also creating policy. So a lot of things that you're looking at is also policies, and then how that affects how your school runs and how your your superintendent runs. So that's essentially what you do as a school board member.
Well, that answer very nicely dovetails into our next question, which is going to be very interesting. And you're up next on that one.
All right.
Okay. So, can District 219 survive without federal funding? Asking because federal government will be asking for changes that don't align with what is best for our community.
Yeah. Yes. So luckily 219 has an abundance of money, a surplus, so they can easily survive without federal funding. And Illinois, the way that they divvy out, federal funding and state funding is based off the need. So I'd say majority of the schools around here, especially 219, but also the feeder schools, have 100% fund balance, which is the money that they have just from, basically property tax. So they're not really utilizing federal funding anyway. We're on a school board 69 that actually happens to be a tier 1 school that does rely on federal funding. But if you are a tier 1 school or a tier 2, whatever, you will more than likely, what the state would do is end up funding those schools first. If federal funding went out, they will go to and fund the schools that need it the most. So for 219, honestly, I don't think that will be a problem for them, because clearly they have plenty of money. So they're not relying on federal funding, and they wouldn't be harmed without it or with it. It's kind of a perk if you get any federal funding for them.
What an interesting concept. Okay. Lindley, you're right in the in my face, so let's have you go next.
Sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
She's
Um,
like,
I again would reiterate with what Candice said. And fortunately, we are a very well-funded district. We have the money to definitely survive, if not slightly thrive. Without the federal funding, we would be okay. We would be okay. And like she said, we're on a district that we need federal funding. We are constantly looking for grants and constantly looking for extra help because it's so hard. But yeah, no, we would be fine at District 219.
Okay, thank you. And Nour.
Yeah, I'm just reiterating what Candice and Lindley said, that yes, we're the district, we're lucky to be a tier 4 district, meaning that we use the least amount of federal funding. We don't really rely on federal funding, and we should also be grateful for the school board predecessors that came before us who paid off the district debt, and so that we don't continue to accumulate interest. So yeah, I mean, we're super lucky to be where we are, and I think we would be okay without federal funding.
Awesome. Okay. And Nour, you're going to be next for this question. What are the important metrics for measuring the quality of education? How do we know if we're succeeding?
I mean, if we look at the Illinois School Report Card, those are metrics that show us how our graduation rates and the retention rates and the days that students are absent, and those are all important metrics. But I also think that we shouldn't just be looking at, like, those are not the only metrics that we should be looking at, because students are full human beings, and it's not just about the GPA or whether they're graduating or whether they're going to university or whether they're getting jobs or whether they're going into like jobs that they need just on the job training for. I think that also having ways to evaluate how mentally healthy they are, or their social emotional learning abilities, and how maybe you could say satisfied they are in their lives, or how the district supports them, are also important measuring tools. So I think looking at that in a way that we could get a metric is also important.
Okay, thank you very much. And Candice, how about you?
I actually like the motto. We did a learning group of a year or 2 years ago on grading for equity, and it was very much heavily based on the student growth and what they actually are retaining and learning, because a lot of students or people in general, once you kind of learn the game of school, you know what you need to do to just get through. Versus are you actually growing and learning and taking it in? And just the whole backstory and background of how grading came about and how it's used, even just as far as to be divisive and kind of like very it's another tool to be systematically dividing and divisive towards people of color and different ethnicities, et cetera. So for me personally, I would love metrics that are based more, that were more equitable and based on the students' growth and what they're actually learning and how they're actually growing. Because every student is a different student, but the way that you can see their growth is it's really individual. Like if this student, versus we're just hitting these markers, the state markers, because a lot of people, I've seen a lot of things in the news where people hit these markers and then they've graduated and they're like, the kid couldn't read. I just read something about that today. Graduated from high school, can't even read or write. How does that happen? Because they're just checking off these boxes to hit these markers. They're not really checking the growth of the student. So I would be focused more on that.
Okay, thank you. And Lindley.
So I think that you're never going to make everyone happy with how we're looking at the statistics and how we're, grading kids, right? But I think that we have the MAP scores, we have the Illinois assessment readiness scores and all of that and the Illinois report card, which is great and like needs to stay. But I also agree with Kandice in that, like, we need to have a lot more as far as like how we're assessing our kids and the growth needs to be, something that we are checking, not just their grades for sure. I was also on that focus group that Kandice did with the grading, and it's something that I would love to see our grading process changed. I think it's outdated, the A through, F, and like, if I go and I go take my nursing exam, right? Well, I take that, I could take it again. So it's like these kids are taking these exams, and if they can't take them again, like it's just not real life. Well, you could take that exam again. If you failed, you could go study again and then maybe get a little bit better grade. So I think that we need to be like changing the way we're looking at how we're assessing these kids. And it needs to be more like cohesive. Not every teacher gets to decide, well, I'm going to do it this way and I'm going to do it this way. Grading is changing. The kids have changed. The way that we are grading it's antiquated. It's not working anymore. And so, and this data that we're looking at, it needs to be, we need to change the way we're looking at it and helping the kids be well-rounded and learn how to study for themselves, because each kid is so unique. So yeah, it's hard though, because again, back to professional development, I think that we need that to help these teachers get into figuring this piece out, so.
Okay, quite honestly, I don't think it ever worked because I'm a lot older than a lot of you, and I don't think it ever worked.
Probably not.
Okay. Kandice, you're up first on this one. What is your position on school resource officers, Skokie PD officer, as a budgeted position at the schools? What are the unmet needs of our schools in terms of student, staff, faculty safety?
This was a hot topic and a big topic a few years back. And I remember that they did a whole 219 did a whole focus group, and they did a whole background study, and then they like tabled it and didn't ever vote on it. I personally am a no-go for SROs. It's not my cup of tea. I don't necessarily feel like it's really statistically, if you want to look at data and numbers, it's not really helpful. And I also don't feel like it makes all the students feel safe. Some people might feel a little bit safe, but majority don't. Students, because they're the ones who are attending the school. Families and parents may feel safe, but they're not the ones in the building with these people. The students are. So I definitely don't support the SRO. I think that there's other ways that you could possibly have, some sort of security, but I would prefer that it would be an employee of 219, that they train themselves, that they understand how 219 functions, the culture that they want to provide in 219. And there was a lot of issues in the past with the SRO too, just misgendering students, just how the other students felt with the SRO. So I really think that's a touchy subject. And I think that there are other ways to provide safety that doesn't have to be the police officer standing there with a gun inside the school.
Okay, thank you. And, having just had a stabbing at the game at Niles North about, what was that, a month and a half ago already? I'm sure it's something that you guys will be dealing with. Nour.
I agree with Kandice about having staff that are trained, that are employed by District 219, and not bringing people from the outside to be the safety officers or the SROs. It needs to be like a homegrown group of people who are employed by this district, who understand the district, who understand the students, who again reflect the diversity of the students, which is again, like I can't underestimate or I cannot not talk about this enough. That the people who are responsible for the safety of the students also represent the students, understand the students, and are from within the community and have professional development just like the other staff or teachers or administrators do as well.
Okay, thank
I
you.
just want to say that, you missed a question. I think you can scroll back, Judy. But we're gonna be ending after Bird and Liana's questions because in the interest of time, we want to allow the candidates to give closing statements. So. there's
Okay, I will go back. Lindley,
Yeah, I just want to say I definitely do not support hiring SROs. I'm totally okay with security people being in the building, like Kandice and Nour said, that are like people from 219 that like the kids could look to and be like, oh, that person works here, they're with us, they're a 219 person and they're here. I just do not support police officers in our schools, period. But I would be willing to listen to everyone's opinions on this because I do feel like the community information on this is really important. And the student, like Kandice said, the students are the ones who are there. Honestly, I asked my daughter about it the other day and she's like, oh, I love that guy. He's really nice. Like, I mean, so I would like to like literally interview every student that's at that school to actually feel like I knew what they needed and wanted. But yeah, me as a person, I do not support SROs in the schools.
thank you. 1 second. Okay, Nour, I'm gonna ask you what I see as the next question, and I've just asked Lonnie to clue me in on what she saw that I missed.
Okay.
Nour, we've got a question about curious about your perspectives on 504 plans and IEPs. How can we support staff and students in accommodations and learning?
I'm supportive of having these the learning plans in place. Having been through that process myself and knowing like what goes into it in terms of like what the support staff is at the district, I think that what they have in place is really good. I would appreciate maybe more, I guess more touch points in terms of the meetings and stuff. I think, but all of the administrators make themselves accessible when that need is there. And so I think that if there's something lacking that a parent feels, or a student or an administrator, I think that needs to be brought to the table. And if that can be addressed from a professional development standpoint, it should be. But I'm in 100% support of these initiatives, and I think I've seen firsthand how they've helped students thrive in the school system.
Okay, thank you. And I've lost track of what order we've been going in. So Kandice, why don't you take it?
So IEPs and 504 plans, I think they're great. I think that I've heard a lot of different things from parents recently when just, in passing, just about how how the school works together in their systems. So I think that there's room for improvement with that at 219, just from what I'm getting feedback from parents, just how it functions and how they communicate with each other and how they work together. I think that the resources are there. I just think that they probably need a better system of how they go about dealing with each student. And that's probably just like better communication, probably how they actually outline and, you know, process this and go through everything. I think those are things that can be easily fixed and improved. But I definitely think that it's great because that's the best way to be equitable is by looking at the needs of each student individually and then providing what it is that they need. So that's my opinion on it.
Okay, thank you. And Lindley,
So this is just so hugely important. 504s and IEPs, we are getting more and more of them every year. And it's just so important that we are educating our administrators and teachers on how to execute those plans in classrooms. Both of my children have 504s, you know, and each year is different. And each year it's like, well, mom, no, that didn't happen, or, you know, or this is amazing and this is happening. It's just not consistent enough because it is such a new, not that the 504 and IEPs are new, but there's just so many more kids in their classrooms now that have these plans, and the teachers need some help with this. And so this is really, really important to me. And I just believe right now so much that we need to be helping these administrators and teachers out with professional development to get to learn how to really execute these plans for these kids, for them to be successful. It's so important.
thank you. Thank you very much.
I wish children had those plans. Are we done with the questions?
That's,
First question. Okay.
I don't see what you saw, so I think we got them all.
Well, there's one by Bird Davis. And I just wanted to comment on the 504s is that I wish they had them when I was a child. I was diagnosed with ADHD when I hit 40 because of my son. And he at 219 they did a wonderful job, not so much as grade school, they missed it, but 219 did. Bird Davis asks, why are we hiring superintendents from out of state that does not know our community?
Maybe that was sent to just you, because I don't see
Oh, perhaps.
I don't see that in the chat too.
I didn't see it either. I didn't
I
see it
might have
either.
sent it like not to everyone, so.
Yeah.
Probably an accident.
Yeah, it does look like it was sent directly to me, so I
Okay.
misspoke. So, okay, well, does anyone want to answer that? Does anyone know?
Well, honestly, I would say, you know, I can't speak for Nour and Kandice, but I wasn't on the board, so I wasn't a part of the hiring process for that in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, I mean, I really just can't speak to it at this
Okay.
point.
Yeah, I personally thought it was odd.
Yes,
That
me too.
got somebody from out of state when I was just like, you know, I feel like there are plenty of candidates that they could have found here. But they feel like he had a vision, and I guess he came from a similar size district and a similar, you know, I guess they feel like he would be able to streamline or create kind of what he had before in, you know, his hometown. I'm not sure, but I mean, yeah, I thought that was odd. Just to be honest.
Yeah, same. I can't comment because I wasn't part of that process, so I don't know how that happened. But
Fair enough. So you were flawless, Judy, tonight. Closing arguments. Who did we start with? I think we started with Lindley.
Kandice?
I think it was me.
Oh,
Candace.
Candice, you're right.
Yeah,
You were the
sorry.
brave one. You were so brave to do that. Nour.
closing arguments.
Oh, sorry, closing statement. That would be illegal. We're not in the court of law.
No, it's okay.
Out.
That's okay. I just wanted to reiterate again, I don't have experience on a school board, but I've learned a lot in the last 6 months. But I do have lots of experience with children because that's my day-to-day job. But I also want to maybe share that you may not know this, but I wasn't born in the United States. And although my English is very good, I would say, it wasn't my first language. And I do represent, or being on the board, I would represent 15% of the students that are in the district who are English language learners. And I think that having somebody on the board who maybe shares with other families, parents, students that my parents couldn't help me apply for university, for example, or like, you know, the steps moving forward. I just think that it's important for someone to represent these students and these families at the table. And that's another reason that I'm running for District 219. And I am a firm believer in that you cannot be what you cannot see. And so representation really matters. And I hope that if I do get elected to the school board, that students can see me on the school board as something or someone that they can hope to be like in terms of like following my dream or my passion of becoming a physician.
Oh, that would be me. So Lindley, do you want to go next?
Sure. Essentially, I just want to say I have, you know, I've basically devoted my whole kind of adult life to kids. I love, love, love seeing them grow emotionally, socially, cognitively, physically, everything. I have committed my life to that. So being on the school board speaks to that for me. I have learned a lot on being on District 69. I think I have a lot to bring to 219. I think I have a really good listening ear now, and I want to bring all the voices to the table. It's really important to me to listen to all of the parts of our community, the students, the teachers, the administrators, the just, you know, families that don't have children in our, you know, that don't have kids. Like, I just want to listen to everyone and make sure that everyone's voice is seated at the table. I also really, really want to make sure that kids can go to school each day and be their authentic selves without fear of, you know, retribution or repercussion. It's very important that these kids can go to school and feel safe in that way. So if I can help, you know, the teachers and administrators make that happen in any way, I'm here for it. So I only have the kids' best interest in mind, and I would love to be on the 219 board to continue that.
Candice?
So I just want to reiterate that I'm very invested in helping 219 create a community schools model. I've seen how successful that's been at 69 with just being able to bridge the gap between what your community is asking and needing and being able to provide that. And with 219 and their budget and just the wide array of towns that they service, I think that is the best thing that could come out of 219, and that it really would help and support the community, because that all encompasses from medical to ESL. You know, there are a lot of things that you can do to help your community through your school. And I think that that would be something that I would be great at helping to create and implement. And as somebody who's an alumni from Niles West, I lived in Skokie my whole life. I live in Morton Grove currently. I have kids in the district. It's, for me, an investment in the community, because essentially we're all one community. No matter what we may represent, we're all one community, and we all pretty much have the same goal. And the best way to service your community could be bridging that gap between your school and helping listen to your community and provide anything that you can that will help your youth be the best versions of themselves. So that's something that I really think that we could do a lot of good work on 219 with that kind of model of, engaging with your community and offering services to them that they're needing and wanting.
Thank you. And I want to thank everyone for coming. It shows how caring the community is that you bothered to attend. And there's so many people who, after this is over, will ask me for a copy of the recording. I want to thank the candidates for availing themselves to the citizens of Skokie. It's important that we know what you stand for and who is representing us in our schools for our children.